Hi, I'm John. This is my show, A Sports Reckoning. So this is Mojo Sports. Let me just play you something really quick here that he says.
I saw something that really hurt me. I am half Persian.
Okay, he's half Persian, okay? Now, this is my problems in society, is like he didn't say he's half Iranian, okay? Because there's like a negative stereotype on Iran, the country of Iran, okay? Now, I'm from Los Angeles, okay? So when I was in elementary school, there was 2 kids that came to my school that were from Iran. And the reason that they came is because they had to get out of Iran. They had to leave that country because there was what was known as the Shah of Iran. Okay, and so the Shah of Iran was more like a westernized type of version of an Iranian leader. But then you had the hardcore fundamental people who ran Iran, which was the Ayatollahs. Okay, so the Ayatollahs came back into power. They kicked the Shah of Iran out of power, and he was doing friendships with like westernized countries, right? He's opening up the country. But the people that are in Iran, the fundamentals, they don't want the country to be changed because they're strict, the hardliner people, right? So all these people had to get out of there. So, like, I'm 49 years old. So, like, he's talking, he'd be the kid. Like, I would have known his fathers when this stuff happened. I'm older, so I could speak on it a little bit more clearly. Now, what I'm saying here is that he's Americanized. And in America, there's like, things that you have to adhere to. And so he's scared to tell people he's Iranian. So he says he's Persian. So is he not like a, I hate when I can't come with a word, but is he not like supportive of his culture, his real culture? Because actually he didn't tell you he's Iranian. He said he's Persian because this is what happens to Iranian people that were immigrants from that situation and they come to America, then they say, well, we're Persian. Because like I said, I had two kids came to my school. I ended up being friends with both of these kids. One of them, you could say technically was my best friend for a large period of time, especially like all through high school. One of them is one of my best friends. Now, this is what I want to say about like the culture of what he's talking about, and this is what I'm trying to talk about in my videos, that we have massive problems with what's going on in our culture today when people say stop hate, okay? Like, you can't say stop hate. Okay, there's good and bad. Without the bad stuff happening, then you would have no idea of what the good is. And then what happens is people's human tendencies tend much more towards evil. So then our tendencies will fall right into line with the evil patterns, and that will become the accepted norm of society. These are the things that are actually going on, and there's very complex, larger understanding of what's going on. There's all kinds of people involved, the freaking demonic forces. There is so much stuff going on, and these stupid little words like stop hate and end racism. Look at, if you go all around the world, right, you're basically going to find like, okay, he's from Iran. Well, his family origins were, like he says he's Persian. That's because he's embarrassed of his actual family origins, which is what America forces you to do. This is what I'm saying. He's not standing up as a proud Iranian who has Persian ancestry. He's knocking his ancestry as being an American and being ashamed of actually who he is because America forces him to be this way. And that's what I'm saying. I do not accept that. And he'll sit here and tell you that he thinks he's being supportive of his culture and stuff. And it's like, no, you're not. You're being forced into submitting to the American culture way, and there's parts of American culture way that are totally wrong. So like you go through every country, like you go to Iran, a bunch of Iran people, they all look the same, right? You go to China, bunch of Chinese people, right? You go to Russia, bunch of white Russian people. Like you go all over the world. That's generally what you're going to find, right? You come to America and it's diverse. There's every race, every culture, everything exists here. And people have the nerve to call this country racist. I mean, that's rich. That's rich. Especially for somebody who's just like a first generation immigrant, you know? For you to come over here and start saying that there's racism in this country and saying that it's a bad thing. Now look at, in this country, like I'm from Los Angeles, you could go to Chinatown, okay? You go to East LA, that's just like Mexico. They got Mexican flags painted all over the buildings. They have their flags painted everywhere. Might as well call it Mexico. It's frickin' Mexico. So like I say, you got Chinatown. So they're allowed to support their culture. Nobody has a problem with that. Nobody's saying, get rid of Chinatown. Get rid of that. That's racist. No, you're excluding, you're excluding all of the other races just for your own benefit. Nobody's saying that. Nobody's saying get rid of frickin' East LA. That's get rid of all those Mexican flags. Nobody's saying that. Why would we say that? We support different cultures here in America. And so the natural progression of what happens through human culture and society is that races tend to migrate with themselves. Okay, that doesn't mean that we're racist. That's God did that. If you want to argue to somebody, you go talk to God. You go you go have that conversation with God and figure out what's good and bad. Because I'm not going to tolerate any of your stuff. Oh, end racism. Oh, stop hate. No, stop being stupid, because that's what you are. All this stupid little petty fucking shit. And you get on here on the internet and say, I'm a good person. I'm against racism. I stop hate. No, you're a freaking child who's been controlled by their slave master, the U.S. government. And the reason I'm saying this to you specifically, I'm going to show you. Just like I said. Now, he's not willing to say he's Iranian. He said he's Persian. And I can tell you specifically because I have this personal influence with my friends. My friends were from Iran. They came over here after, like I said, after the Ayatollah kicked the Shah of Iran out. There was a big problem there, you know. That was a big deal. A lot of you people don't know that's a big moment in history, because there's a big thing about the American embassy, where the Iranians took over the American embassy in Iran. It was a big deal. It was a big deal, right? So I had two friends that came over here. Now, one of their names is Pedro, but he changed his name to Peter. Okay? The other one, his name was Cambis, and he changed his name to Sebastian. Okay? Now, are they proud of their culture and their heritage and their race, or did America force them to not be proud of their race and their heritage and forced them to change their names and to change the origins of where they were, to not say they're from Iran, that they say they're from Persia. They're Persian. And I tell you this because my best friends are these guys. This is what they did. Now, was that a good thing for them to become Americanized, or did that take away from their true culture of who they were? Did America allow them to be who they were, or were they forced into something else? And that's what I'm saying. All this stuff about these little things where they make these statements that, like Roland West FD, oh, that kind of stuff does not belong in this community. Dude, that's bullshit. If your community will not allow freedom of speech and freedom of your natural origins and the freedom of expression of who you are, then you fuck your community. Then fuck your community. Like, dude, I'm not going to walk up to you and start fucking yelling at you if I'm in a card show. We're there to talk about cards. We're going to talk about cards. We're not going to get into these conversations. So why would there be any kind of negativity taking place at the card show? I sure as hell don't need the great curator to come talking down to me like I'm a goddamn child and telling me I got to be nice and I got to be proper. No, that's straight communist, Chinese communist propaganda. And now, just because I don't know, I think he's Chinese. I don't know his last name. Because, like, for me, it's hard for me to identify a difference between, like, a Chinese person and a Japanese person unless I hear their name. If their name is Kawasaki, then I know they're from Japan. Okay, if their name is Wu or Chen, then I know they're from China. Okay, by just visually looking at them, I can't clearly see the difference, but I know the names and the origins of their names, and that's how I separate them. So I can't tell you the origin, technically, of the great curator because I don't know his last name. Okay, so, but the words that are coming out of his mouth is clearly the words that's being influenced by the Chinese communist propaganda government who's enslaving their population. They're not free over there in China. They're enslaved. They don't allow them to look at the same information. Okay, that means they're slaves. And America is moving in that direction. So I'm here to say, hell no. Hell no to that direction. We're here for freedom of speech. Okay, now, and this is the thing that pisses me off more than anything. This dude, because like I just told you, he's afraid to admit the true origins of his birth origins as being from Iran. He was afraid to say he's from Iran. That's why they identify themselves as Persian. That's like, I'm telling you to identify yourself as Iranian. Are you embarrassed to tell people that you're from Iran, so you uplift yourself to make it seem prettier and better and call yourself Persian? That's your own internal racism stuff against yourself. You're not strong enough to stand up against people who would look down upon you for identifying as Iranian. I don't look down at you. I would support you more to say that you're from Iran, because I know the difference. When you say you're Persian, that's a weakness. I know it. I personally have experience with this, and I know that you're identifying as Persian because that's a weakness in you. That is not a strength. And America forced you to do that. And you're over here in America now trying to force other people into doing stuff and not speaking their minds and not being real Americans. This is America. We don't tolerate that frickin' Chinese propaganda government bullshit, which is trying to enslave the population. There's a lot of people here who say no to that shit. No. We will not tolerate that shit. It's not tolerable. And we don't tolerate a whole bunch of fucking shit of what you people tolerate in your community. Now, Mojo, you're really good friends with Jimmy, the Kentucky Roadshow guy. You support him, all this stuff, right? So you'll come out and tell me I can't make a simple little statement that's negative. Oh, you said hateful words, right? But you do nothing to protect that child from this man putting his hands on him. Now, do I know if Jimmy is molesting these children? Absolutely not. I've never met the guy, okay? But I sure as hell know what a fucking pedophile looks like, and I sure as know very well how a pedophile grooms a child. And all the imagery and the actions of what I see here is a pedophile man grooming a child he's looking to sexually abuse that kid. Now, if he's not sexually abusing him, he should be smart enough, and if he's a real American and a real adult, and if he's a genuine human being, he would be smart enough to know that you don't put your hands on these fucking kids. You don't groom these kids, giving them presents, putting your hands all over them, welcoming them into your home and your environment and shit. Okay, those are all pedophile tendencies. Everything of what I see here is a pedophile grooming a child. Okay? If he's not a pedophile, first of all, he should know better than to do that. Okay? Because he's grooming the kid. Whether he's a pedophile or not, he's doing something wrong. And Mojo Sports does not have the balls to stand up for really things that are wrong. When he met Jimmy, he instantly should have said, dude, you need to stop fucking touching kids because you look like a pedophile. Now, Mojo, did you ever fucking stand up for that kid's rights? Did you ever stand up for any of those kids and say, Jimmy, you're not allowed to touch kids in the way you're touching them, and you need to stop giving them presents too because it looks like you're grooming them so you can touch on them? Now, what's worse? Me making some derogatory statement about somebody and making a negative joke or whatever? Is that so bad? It's a joke. It's just conversation. I'm not wishing violence upon anybody. I'm not trying to hurt anybody, not trying to really demean or belittle anybody. But I think it's fine to make jokes about people. I think that's fucking funny. I think that's what actually gives a lot of closeness between people is you need to know, like I'm from the ghetto. And you got to dog on people hard. And if you don't talk this way, you get taken advantage of. The people will know you're weak and they're soft and they'll take advantage of you. So I'm from an area where you need to talk hard and you need to put forth negative feelings towards other people so they know that you're not going to be taken advantage of. All right, that's the culture I'm from, and that's culture exists, and I like that. I like having that part of that ghetto culture in me. I like that shit, right? Like Roland from FD, he's from Chicago. Chicago is like one of the worst criminal cities that has ever been in America. One of the worst criminally run cities that ever runs in America. And if you just look at what's taken place now, you can see that there's a massive attack to eliminate the black youth in a city like Chicago, that the government intentionally is creating a very negative environment of which these kids are killing each other. Is FD doing anything to stop that? No, he supports the frickin' the propaganda coming from the government, the Democratic ruling leaders that rule Chicago. He supports them. That's why he comes out and says, oh, we can't talk this way. Yeah, because the leaders of the areas that want to manipulate and control the population to get them to kill themselves are telling you to think that way. Is FD standing up for any of those children in the Chicago ghettos who are living in this bad environment, who they killing each other every day? It's happening every fucking day. Is he out here saying, we got to stop this shit? Why are we allowing these kids to be raised in this kind of poverty with no hopes and no goals, and then they're slaughtering each other? Does he stand up for any of that shit? And he's from Chicago. Does he stand up for even his own home people in his hometown? No. But what's he gonna do? We gotta come out here and stop talking these negative words because we all gotta be proper and clean. Come on. You're weak. You're weak, FD. You're a fraud. You allow the black people in your own city to be slaughtered on a daily basis, and you do nothing about it. You allow this man to put his hands on children in your own community, and you do nothing about it. Yeah, deal with that.